Hi everyone, it's Zach Beck. Today I want to talk to you about bad financial decisions and how we can recover from them. Now, when it comes to financial decisions such as saving money and building wealth, it's often easy for us to make excuses for why we're not pursuing that. And whatever your financial situation is, no matter how bad the decisions have been made in your life when it comes to your finances, I want to encourage you that I have been there before and I believe many others have as well. All I want to do in this video is share with you tips and tricks that you can use right now to help overcome some of the obstacles that have been placed before you from some of those past poor financial decisions. In addition, how you can prevent yourself from making those decisions in the future by making wise decisions that will help you achieve your financial goals. So let's jump into it right now. What I want to do now is share the common mistakes that people make when it comes to their finances, and the first is this: not saving any of your monthly income. Now, this is a poor financial decision that many people fall into, and that is because of lifestyle inflation. We fall victim to this believing that we need to spend as much money as we make. We believe that we need to go out to eat every single night. We believe we need to own the newest equipment when it comes to technology. We might need the nicest clothes. We might just want to, spend things, almost in a cavalier manner. But it's having that mentality, that approach, thinking that you need to keep spending money in order to kind of keep up with society, when in the actual truth is that if you're able to think about finances differently and how you can save your money versus how you can spend your money, it's actually going to position yourself in a much stronger place to allow you to achieve your financial goals. For instance, if you struggle with saving your money right now, let's say you don't save any money on a monthly basis, try and do something automatically. So have money automatically taken out of your checking account and placed into your savings account. Even if you want to take it one step further, take that money out of your checking account, not only into your savings account, but then put into a Roth IRA. So that way you can invest that money and have it grow over time. But you have to start small. So let's just start simple, make it real easy, take some money out of your checking account and place it into your savings account every week so you can begin to develop the habit of saving money and watching that money grow and build over time. Another common poor financial habit that most of us get into is that we really live large in our 20s. We spend more money than we really should. Perhaps you graduate college and you think, oh, I gotta buy the nicest car. Or you might want to purchase a home that's bigger than you actually need. Or you think, I'm gonna go to every concert, every festival, gonna travel everywhere possible while I'm young. And those are all great things to do, but if you don't do them in proper balance and moderation, it can really set yourself up for failure long term when it comes to your finances. So try to avoid that by thinking strategically and intentionally during your 20s, by living in the present, being in the moment, living in the now, but also realizing that you can set some of that money aside, save it, invest it, so that way you can actually live even larger in your 30s, 40s, and 50s and beyond. So it's all about having perspective when it comes to this. It's so easy to get into that trap of saying, oh, I'm just gonna, go for it no matter what, only live once, that kind of mentality. But I really want to encourage you that if you think about just being more extravagant in your 20s, it's gonna set yourself up for a negative perspective long term. I did this personally. I purchased a Mercedes-Benz in my 20s. I had a really cool Toyota Tacoma truck. It worked great. It was perfect, easy to go back and forth to the beach with my surfboard. But I thought, oh, you know what? I'm in my 20s now, graduated college, want to have a nicer car, be a little more professional. So then I bought a nicer Mercedes, great vehicle, but the expense of actually being able to maintain that vehicle really was never worth the cost in my opinion. So just thinking about that, trying to avoid those poor mistakes that we sometimes make in our 20s that don't set ourselves up for success in the future. So just want to encourage you with that. Avoid trying to live beyond your means at any time, but specifically in your 20s when you're just kind of getting financially started. Another mistake that many people make financially is getting into debt by making unnecessary purchases. So you might think to yourself, oh, I just want to go out to eat tonight, or I just want to purchase that new clothing item, or I want to get this new computer, this new phone, these new headphones, whatever it might be. But if you don't have the money to pay for it, then you find yourself getting into debt. And this is a common trait that happens across the board where we find the impulse to want to spend money that we don't have. So my encouragement to you is to try and avoid debt at all costs. If you have a credit card, Don't think about your balance on your credit card that you have available to use as real money, because it's not. Credit cards basically equal debt. Now, you can use credit cards properly, you can do all sorts of things that actually can help you when it comes to earning points or credit card churning and all that kind of stuff. I'm not really going to get into that. I'm just going to get into the actual understanding that if you try and spend money you don't have, it's going to position yourself negatively, because then you're spending money that you do not have, which actually puts you in a negative position versus a positive position. So try and avoid making unnecessary purchases. If you don't have the money to pay for it, then you shouldn't do it. This leads to the next poor financial decision that many people make, and that is not paying off your credit card in full every month. It is so easy to fall into this trap. What you think is that, let's say you spend money on your credit card and you have a balance of $100 remaining at the end of the month. But instead of spending the entire $100 to knock that out and actually pay it down to zero at the end of the month, you only make the minimum payment of, say, $10 or something to that extent. And that is very bad, because credit card comes with high interest. So if you only spend $10 to pay off that $100 balance, that leaves you with $90 difference. And then on top of that, you have interest that you have to pay that compounds and grows over time, month by month. So really, if you are carrying any sort of credit card debt, focus on paying that down to zero. Try to never carry a balance beyond zero after the month is over. It's so easy to fall into this trap, because it's easy to think, oh, I'm just going to make the minimum payment and do that on a long-term basis, but it will devastate you financially. I can speak to this personally. I remember when I first bought a home, I was told I needed to get a credit card in order to buy new appliances and do, kind of fixing things up around the place. So I did that, but then I fell into the trap in my college years, where then all I did was I made the minimum payment, and then I just saw the debt accrue, and I didn't think to myself, oh my goodness, I'm actually going to be screwing myself over long term by having this debt, versus taking that money, spending all of it to knock that debt down, and then investing it and saving it long term. I would be even further along financially than I am today had I not made those poor decisions back in those days. So my encouragement to you is, make sure if you do carry a credit card, pay off your entire balance every single month. Another poor financial decision that most of us make is not investing. Most of us think that, in order to invest, you need to either live on Wall Street, have some sort of financial degree, or really understand the markets to be able to time them appropriately, when it couldn't be further from the truth. If you and I decide not to invest, what we're really doing is saying that we don't want to make additional money. And that can come from fear. It can also come from misinformation, and generally a little bit of misunderstanding as to how the system works. So if you want to make things real simple for yourself when it comes to investing, there are various approaches to take. Once again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a guy on YouTube, but I'm just wanting to share with you the approaches that I take, because I found out earlier on in life the value of investing and how compound interest can help you gain significant sums of money over time. So if you want to start simply, what I would encourage you to do is try and open up either a Roth IRA or a 401k, or both if your employer offers that, then start investing into the stock market through those tax-advantaged retirement accounts. Now, I won't go into the details of the differences between those two accounts. I have a totally separate video on that. I'll put a link in the description for your own enjoyment, but basically try and do what you can to invest into the stock market. And when you think of investing in the stock market, you might think it comes with a lot of risk, a lot of volatility. And yes, there is part of that, because without risk, you cannot get reward. But if you look at something very simple, something very stable that has a long track record, you might want to look at what are called index funds, which actually basically get you a broad, diverse portfolio of stocks that you can buy into, and that will grow systematically over time, generally yielding on average, with adjusted for inflation when you have your dividends reinvested, about 7 to 8% annually. So looking at something like that, you can go with Vanguard, you can go with Fidelity. Company to me doesn't really matter. You just want to keep your fees and your expenses really low. But just if you don't invest, you're basically foregoing money that you could have long term. So, but if you do invest, it's a very smart approach to take. Now, if you want to take a very passive approach, something that's very easy, let's say you don't want to open up an account or anything like that, try something like Acorns, which is basically an app that you put on your phone, and it links to your debit card. And what it does is, let's say you spend $3.50 buying a coffee at Starbucks, then it's going to take the remaining 50 cents and then invest that 50 cents into the stock market, basically into an index fund. So this is very passive. You don't really think about it. It's just a way to kind of invest your loose change. Now, this to me is not your best long-term strategy, but it's something you can do to actually get some form of investments going. In addition, you want to be putting money into your savings account. You really preferably would want to also be putting your money into a Roth IRA, a 401k, and even your own separate account just going right into the stock market. But you can start small with Acorns. I'll put a link in the description. If you want to try it out, feel free to give it a shot. It's super easy. I use it. My family uses it. It's really easy. It's very foolproof, and basically it'll just give you a little bit of a taste of how you can do this. In addition, if you want to go the individual stock route, there are different companies you can use. I'll put links in the description for Robinhood and WeBull. If you want to try them out, if you do the WeBull one, you can get 2 free stocks, one valued up to $1,400. If you invest $100 on the platform, it's a good way of going about it. If you want to be a little bit riskier, you will generally get a higher reward with those kind of individual stocks, but it requires a lot of understanding of the market, and it's a bit more advanced process to take. But you can try that out as well. Just as long as you invest, do something you can right now to get your money growing over time, because you want to have time in the market, which is much more important than trying to time the market. So if you start younger, you'll be able to grow your money much quicker over time. So give it a shot. Another poor financial decision that many people make is not having any money set aside in an emergency fund. Now, as I make this video, the United States of America, as well as everywhere else in the world, has just gone through a very challenging time due to an illness. And because of that, work has stopped for many other people, and that has caused them to have to rely on their savings. And if you and I have not placed any money into our savings account or having just a simple emergency fund, then how do you pay your bills? How do you buy groceries? How do you do certain things? So if you leave yourself with no margin for error when it comes to your finances, it's a very dangerous predicament that you can find yourself in. So my encouragement to you is to try and set aside at least 3 to 6 months worth of your living expenses into what's called an emergency fund. And that way you only use this whenever you're finding yourself in a financially difficult situation. If you want to start a little bit smaller, you might want to start with just $1,000. Make it a goal to set aside $1,000. This is not money you're going to spend on anything else except for the case of an emergency. And I believe it positions you in a bit of a stronger foothold where you're not going to find yourself falling off the edge if something happens. Say you lose your job, you get sick, something happens in the economy that you cannot control, something happens with the health of other people around you that you cannot control, whatever it might be. Just try and find a way for you to put some of that money aside. This is not money that you're investing. It's just simply money that you've set aside into an emergency fund that provides you with some breathing room and ability to be able to move forward if something does happen. Since we've looked at the bad decisions when it comes to finances, I just want to take a moment and look at how we can recover from some of those bad decisions. Starting with the first one, it's this. Be sure to forgive yourself if you've made a poor financial decision. Acknowledge that you made the mistake, acknowledge that you did something bad, but do what you can to forgive yourself, because financial decisions are so interrelated to our personal selves. It's a very psychological, almost a spiritual component of our lives, and the way we spend money can have a devastating effect. So if you find yourself in debt, if you find yourself having purchased something you shouldn't have, if you find yourself not having invested and you're further along in your life than you'd like to be when it comes to where your net worth is right now, just forgive yourself and realize that today is a new day. Today is a new opportunity that you have to make changes in your life, to move forward financially by following some of the simple principles that I've already talked about, such as saving money every month, investing into a retirement account, not falling victim to lifestyle inflation, paying off your credit card every month, and doing everything that you can to have some form of a backup plan when it comes to your finances in the form of an emergency fund. So just forgive yourself. It's okay. Everyone has made these mistakes. You might have just be discovering their mistakes right now, and it's all right. Just be able to move forward and you're going to be okay. All right, after you've acknowledged that it was a mistake that you made and you've forgiven yourself, now you're ready to move forward. So now what you need to do is make a dedicated determination right now that it's time for you to change your financial decision by taking action. And you can take action in the following different manner. Save more than you spend. Do everything you can to pay off your credit card bill every single month. Invest your money into the stock market if you can, through a Roth IRA, a 401k, or just through an individual stock account. It's okay. There are different approaches that you can take. And lastly, save money in an emergency fund so that way you're going to be set up financially secure. Now, when it comes to saving your money on a monthly basis, this is something that you can also do. There are certain savings accounts that you can use that offer some form of an interest rate return on an annual basis. Now, as I speak right now, interest rates are fairly low due to what the Federal Reserve has done recently, but if you take your money and put it into some form of a cash account or a savings account, you can accrue some interest. So in addition to having your investments going into the stock market, if you have money in your savings account, try and have a high interest savings account. Do your research, find different approaches. There are various companies out there that offer some. I will share a link in the description for Wealthfront. It's a company that I use. They have a cash account which offers a high interest, but it's basically something just where you're really not investing that money. It's just saved and you're accruing a little bit of interest over time. But do what you can to take tangible actions right now and know that you're never going to find yourself in the previous decision place where you made before, where you were actually spending more than you made, where you weren't investing, where you weren't saving any money on a monthly basis, where you're paying the minimum payment on your credit cards. Now you're doing the reverse of that. So it's just a psychological thing. You got to shift the way you're thinking to move forward and achieve your goals, and I'm confident that you can do it because I know I've done it by myself. With all that being said, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video today. If you wouldn't mind, please like this video. It actually really help the channel for the YouTube algorithm. It would push this video out to other people who might need to hear a message like this. Perhaps you have a friend, a family member, a loved one who's struggling financially. Perhaps they're in debt, maybe they're dealing with some sort of issue that doesn't allow them to grow financially, or they just don't know about these different tools that exist right now for them to be able to leverage them to make a difference in their lives. So if you wouldn't mind just tapping the like button for the YouTube algorithm, I would really appreciate it. In addition, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, disagreements, or anything to that extent, feel free to comment down below. I'd love to interact with you, get to know you, answer any questions that you have of myself, share more insight that I can provide, and also I'd just love to learn more about you as well. Feel free to comment at your convenience. And lastly, if you wouldn't mind subscribing to this channel, would really encourage myself and help the channel for the YouTube algorithm, because what I want to do is continue to create content that I believe will make a positive impact in your life and in the lives of others. And if you subscribe, hopefully you'll be able to see my videos on a regular basis as I post them. And on that note, if you do subscribe, please tap the notification bell. That'll notify you anytime I post, which I try to do on a weekly basis, and that allows you to know when I'm doing anything new. In addition, I just really want to thank you for being here today. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of the video and for all your time and attention to the things I'm trying to highlight through this channel. So I hope you have a wonderful remainder of your day, and until next time.